So welcome to everybody for this wonderful webinar today. I'm so excited about the topic today, of course, is all about AI. And I'm so excited because I know many of you are thinking about this topic like I am, and thinking about all the different ways we can use the different tools. And we have the wonderful Meena with us today. So she's going to tell us all about that. We're going to be just letting all of our friends in from all across the country. If you've joined us before, you know I love to know where you're coming from. So I'd love to see in the chat there where you are coming from. I'm coming from beautiful Ottawa, of course, home of the Anishinaabe people, and an opportunity today to share a little bit about our cold city today, even though it's just about the end of May. We're chilly in Ottawa today. So I'd love to know where you're coming from and get a chance to see if we're joining from all across the country today. We've even had people over the years from joining us from New Zealand and all sorts of places where they've been traveling. So we'd love to know where you're coming from. As you know, this is an important webinar that we host here every single month, and we have various topics. We're planning out the fall right now as well, so you'll want to join in for all of those. I'm just letting a few more people join, and then we will get started. But once again, love to know where you're coming from. I'm seeing Chris and John and Luke and Marigold and Tori joining us today. And of course, Mina's here. She's all ready to go. I'm going to introduce my friend Chantel. She's going to tell us more about the Capacity Building Institute and inspire you to get even more involved with this wonderful organization. Chantel, are you there, my friend?
Yes, I'm here, Sam. Thank you so much. My name is Chantal Haig, and I'm with the Capacity Building Institute. So basically, we are a program under Sustainable Capacity Solutions that provides training, coaching, and mentorship support to staff and volunteers in the ENGO sector across Canada. And the mission is to provide equal opportunity and access to capacity building training for all environmental leaders. And then just diving into a little bit about our program. So, throughout our tailored training, we empower individuals and organizations at every stage of the journey, equipping them with skills and knowledge to drive lasting environmental change. And as you can see here, our approach focuses on 6 core themes: financial management and fund development, governance and board development, volunteer engagement and human resources, communications and outreach, risk management and legal issues, and of course, leadership and organizational culture. And so right now you are a part of one of our free monthly capacity building webinar series. It's a great resource to expand your knowledge and strengthen your network. These sessions take place on the third Tuesday of every month from 4 o'clock to 5 p.m. EST, and they're designed to basically enhance your capacity or your capacity building literacy in a practical but relatable manner through our guest speakers. And so we have an excellent kind of plethora of trainers. And so this is kind of goes beyond our webinars. So we've trained over 50 youth developing their nonprofits and leadership skills, and then supporting their contributions to over 25 different organizations across Canada. And through this, we've worked with we're super fortunate to work with these fantastic rosters of trainers and coaches supporting the programs. So with new connections and guest speakers joining us each year. Their expertise helps ensure we continue delivering top quality training and coaching to all of you. So some of our trainers include Sam Laprade, who is hosting today's webinar, Rob Bard, who brings over 10 years of experience in the sector, Barb King, a seasoned leader with 20 plus years of extensive management experience, Alex Keenan, who specializes in communication strategies, offering training and consultations, and last but not least, Dwayne Taylor, dedicated to helping nonprofits for over a decade. So I want to take a moment to acknowledge the incredible role of our trainers and the network and partners this programming and training has made possible. So they're behind the scenes supports, whether it's sharing resources, providing input, being a guest speakers, helping us out, reach the right communities has been essential to the success of this work. And often we talk about capacity building as a collective effort, and our partners are a clear example of what that looks like in action. So we're truly grateful for having them on board and having their collaboration and ongoing commitment. And so as we head into the summer, we have a few updates. So we will be taking a pause on our program. And while we're hopeful to continue offering the training opportunities in 2026, much of that will depend on our future funding. So in the meantime, we encourage you to stay connected. Please follow us on social media, sign up for our newsletter to receive updates and any new offerings on the programs, whether you want to get involved as a participant or even a trainer. So lastly, I just want to say we're so grateful for your continued interest and support. We look forward to sharing what's next when we can. So with that being said, I hope you enjoy this webinar, and we still have our next one next month with the community foundations. But other than that, save the date and I will pass it back to Sam.
Thanks so much, Chantal. I appreciate your joining us today and for all that great information. I don't know about you, but I've been thinking a lot about AI. And I think this time last year, if anyone mentioned AI or any training about AI, I'd be like, I am not attending anything. I don't want to use it. I think the human connection is best. And now, a year later, I've got to be honest with you, I'm jumping on the AI bandwagon and it is making my life easier. And so we want Meena Das to tell us all about it. Meena, how are you, my friend?
Confused for a second, Sam, how to unmute myself, but I am
Oh, there you
here.
go. We've been learning that for a while now, and it's a lesson we learn over and over again. I'm the same way. We've been talking a lot about AI, and I want to get to know you a little bit. I mean, I know you, but I want to make sure everyone around the table here today does as well. Tell us a little bit about your background.
For sure. So, hello, everyone. I see John here, a friend of mine here from BC. I am joining from beautiful BC as well, from the lands of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh nations, or in other words, the Lower Mainland, Vancouver. I am Meena Das. My pronouns are she, her. I have a consulting business called NamasteData, but they're pretty much mostly the what I do. And I take a lot of effort to put on the internet what I do. I'm going to share how I do and who I am.
Mm.
So I have been spending many, many years in tech, and most of my weeks of my last 17 years of work have been about talking to Excel spreadsheets of data or systems of data and designing systems and algorithms. I think it was around pandemic when I started to question what we do with data and algorithms should align with who we are. What we do should align with who we are. Our lived experiences should align with our learned experiences when it comes to technology. And that's how I got into talking, teaching, breathing, consulting about AI. I do workshops to conferences to speaking. More than that, I think it's important to understand that this is a technology that is incredibly powerful. It is going to stay here for a very long time, regardless of whether or not the 12 of us in the room want it or not, that it stays here or not. It's going to. And the way it is powerful is that 15 years ago or 20 years ago, when email first came, it was one application. You use it, you open it, you do something with it, but you close that application, you are good. You have a life outside it. AI is something different. It can be one, first of all, it can be ingrained in anything and everything that has to do with data. Two, it learns things from you and pretty quickly trains itself, which again wasn't available in any other technology. And three, it teaches other components of AI which are connected to it. So my AI system can teach yours. So that is my world most days, most weeks, and that is who I am.
It's amazing. I love hanging out with you. I always learn something from you today. I know will be no different. I want to talk a little bit about the impact of AI on the nonprofit sector because I think there's this sense that new technology is tried out in governments and in and in the private sector before it sort of makes its way to us. But we can be innovative too, right? So talk to me a little bit about the impact of AI on the nonprofit sector.
Oh, wow. We can take a lot of angles. The one that I do want to talk about. So I run a study called the AI Equity Project. That study is a multi-year study. 2024 was the first year when I started to collect actual hard data on what is the impact of AI on nonprofits. And I picked up a few angles: equity, inclusion, accountability, technology, having a tech stack or not. And there is a whole variety of levels on which we can test and check and talk whole entire day. What is the impact of AI on nonprofits? And I'll send that report, Sam, to you as well as everyone on this call. It's free, open data. Two things that I would say is, right now, the narrative of AI that is being given to us, and when I say us, all representatives of the sector, it is coming from for-profits. It's coming especially from big tech companies. And it's running a narrative that if you are not using it right now, you are losing money, losing people, losing connection, losing humanity. And you have to get on the wagon of this AI wagon because you will lose something. That's a very dangerous, slippery slope narrative that is being fed to us, especially us, the sector that thrives and relies on relationships and humanity. We are the group of people who just are here because for people, for the planet. And that narrative doesn't work for us. So the impact of AI right now that I'm seeing on the sector is nonprofits are struggling. Right now, they're all on a wide range of scale. What is AI? I'm afraid it will take all of my personal information of donors. How do I actually practically use it? Where do I start? Do I even start and think about AI because we are such a small fundraising shop? Is it even for us? And so it takes active conversations in the organizations to make this practical, real, non-scary conversation in the organizations. I'm gonna leave at that, and definitely say I'm gonna send the report because it's very in depth on how it's impacting every aspect of what we are doing right now.
And where are people starting? Because I think there might be people on the call today that haven't sort of maybe taken the step, or they don't know where to start. It all seems, I'll put up my own hand and say it all seems a bit overwhelming. And it's, I kind of think about that analogy as, how does a mouse eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. So, are we taking those small bites?
I give an example pretty frequently, and I want to give that. I pull a lot of examples from my kitchen, so allow me to move out of the AI space for a second.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Say you are trying to cook a new dish with a new spice and a new vegetable. So say a new spice with kale, you're trying to cook that. And you have to decide if you want to put a specific kind of cheese on it or not. You are cooking this for your immediate family and some people who are visiting your home, right? How are you going to ensure that everybody enjoys it and feels safe to eat this very new dish nobody has eaten before? And, lactose intolerant people and all those needs that you have to collect, right? How do you ensure that? You understand what are the raw ingredients on that food that you are making, and you understand the dietary restrictions and interests of the people who are visiting and your family. You have to align what your group of people need with what you are making. It's kind of pretty much that with AI. We have to make some space to understand what this technology is, not just in terms of its sheer power or luster, but what it can do in some practical ways, as well as hear from our communities what they need, where they need the most support. So they're not two different conversations happening. Both are happening on the same table. What does your community needs? It needs better resources and support on this, and this. What is AI? Can it help on those 2 or 3 or 4 things? If we separate those two conversations, again, we would be fed a narrative from tech companies that this is where you use AI for this purpose and it's going to be great. but it doesn't have a green flag from what your communities need, a check. So where nonprofits can truly start is, one, start having some conversations about AI in your team if you haven't. I met an organization this morning where this person said they had a group of 8 people and said, we are not really thinking about AI. That's pretty much Jane's job. So they have a person named Jane. That's pretty much Jane's job. So AI is Jane's thing, but we are not thinking as much about it. And they support about 100 nonprofits who are struggling with their own AI journeys. So this has to be a team conversation. That's step one. Like, bring someone in, watch a webinar together, talk a bit about it, raise some questions, something that can happen together. And then we start bearing down some use cases, the bare minimum, the use cases. Where do we need support with this kind of technology that can predict stuff, that can learn things from our data, that can tell things where we can't see and put biases in it. So I'm gonna leave at that.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. That's brilliant because I think a lot of it, when we think about the ethics of it,
Mhm.
and I've certainly done some stuff on ChatGPT and I get it back and I'm like, I don't think that's right, or there's some stuff missing. So we have to think about the ethical side as well as as really, to be honest, is everything correct
Mhm.
in what we're pulling up? So how do we navigate that, Meena?
It was literally asking me, I want to show you actually all of our friends. I'm having a 100-page document in front of me. I'm reading it at between when I get time. It's all about the AI inequities by different demographics. So AI inequities by age, by ethnicity, by language, minority languages. Because something that I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable with is when we speak of ethics with AI, it just gets restricted to color or racial, ethnic
Right.
reasons that we shouldn't be profiling, for example, and bringing up the same brown woman again and again on the pictures of that comes out of AI. But that's one aspect of AI, and it's a lot more, a lot bigger. So yes, that's number one step. I'm probably going to tell this over and over again. Let's have these conversations within our teams, all the people together around the table. What does this mean? Like, for example, with age, right? We have all different kinds of age groups in our staff. Some are super interested in AI, some are not. That doesn't necessarily correlate with interest in AI. But we
Mhm.
have to make space for these different demographics to interact and intersect, and then come up with a formula in your organization how to use AI. That's when you will realize what you put into ChatGPT or Claude or any tool like that, what it is giving you. Is it something questionable, or is it something you take it and you apply it just as is?
Right.
We cannot create cheat sheets and codes to say, okay, don't say X and only say Y. To an extent, that will work. I mean, for sure. I mean, I can tell you, don't ask for recipes of making bombs on ChatGPT. You don't want that. Absolutely no. But then there are
Mhm.
some subtle things that we need to be careful about when we are writing our fundraising letters and we are creating our social posts of the nonprofits, when we are talking about campaign documents or maybe running surveys through ChatGPT and things like that. We need to be
Mhm.
careful about certain things. Some of them we can discuss, and I know Sam, you and I will discuss, but some of the other things that is going to come when we open up the conversation of different age groups to interact, different ethnicities to interact, different people who speak different languages to interact, different titles and roles. This is not just a job description of your IT people or your
Right.
data people or prospect researchers. This is a conversation about your dev team and comms team and IT people. Um,
Mhm.
that's what I think I'm gonna
And I
probably.
think, yeah, and I love what you'd said earlier. Like, this isn't just Jane's job, Jane being, one person in every organization,
Yeah.
and the ethics side of it and all of that piece is everyone's job. How we're using it, what we're putting into it. I think it's really, really important. I, I'm the last thing I ever want to do is write another policy, but that's just me. But I do think policies are really important of how we're going to use it. And I think it's really important from a nonprofit perspective that our boards understand how we're using it.
Yeah.
because I think boards can, can help guide us, but I also think they're a little bit more risk adverse as well
Mhm.
sometimes. So bringing the board on early in this process, I assume is a good thing, because I always believe in transparency that way. But also, what kind of policies are we needing?
I think that will make the two, first of all, that will make the two of us. Like, I also don't want another
Yeah,
policy.
perfect.
I
Yeah.
I kind of call it AI values document. Like, we can name it a
Mm,
statement of values, or it's something
yeah.
that puts some language on paper to say who we are as an organization when it comes to artificial intelligence. That's the document that I'm talking about. And
Hmm.
there are templates on the internet of what policies are and what it could look like and what it should look like. We can take those, clean it up, make it our own. But when you talked about the board piece, I want to share something interesting happening in one of my projects right now. It's actually a bit of struggle, not just a straight path forward. This board of an organization is pushing their CEO to let some staff go because in their organizations, AI has worked wonders. And without realizing the full impact, they are responding to the current political environments of different countries as let some staff go because AI can do that job. So why bother to hire this and this coordinators? And we are working to create this AI value statement. The CEO, this person I'm working with, she needs that kind of language that becomes this almost like a protection armor, the language that says, this is who we are, so don't question that. This is, we draw a line. We need that, which is collective, which is coming from all the staff members. And we can refer to it over and over again as something like a living document of our values. And that's where we say, this is where we use AI for this and this purposes. If we use this in this way, we are also managing and tracking and doing our evaluations this way of whether or not AI is supporting or not. We can't just let 5 staff members go and get subscription to 3 more enterprise level chat GPT and say that, okay, our work is now transferred from 5 to this 3. There has to be some alignment, some evaluation, some questions raised. And I think this is where it's felt like really practical. We need that, call it policy, call it values of statements or anything, but we need that language.
Hmm.
And templates for those exist.
Hmm.
If they don't exist, I mean, I will encourage people to reach out to Chantel, you, me, because we
Hmm.
have been thinking about this topic for the last
Yeah.
many months,
Yeah.
but we need this.
I think that's really smart. And when I think I'd asked the question earlier about sort of where do we start, I think I'd love to know some resources that you're using. I mean, I think everybody kind of knows the chat GPT, and we kind of, we can go in there and we can type in, write a thank you letter for this kind of campaign, and it might spit something out. We have to maneuver it a bit and then we can use it. It saves us a bit of time from that blank page, that writer's block that we've all experienced, at least I have. So those are, that's a tool that most people know about. What other tools would you like to share with us today?
There are definitely some organizations that are doing some good work, like N10 is doing some good work. They create resources. TechSoup creates resources. I do create as my company. This is my whole
Hmm.
Saturday, Sunday, like creating resources, what this looks like. Now, I'm truly a nerd on this.
Yeah.
Um, But I want to give an exercise as an example too
Sure.
from my workshops. So when organizations ask me, where do I start with this policy thing? We have to maneuver it, you said, right? Like Sam, we take the output, we
Mm.
somehow make it our own. What does that look like when me and Jane and Chantel, we all try to do it? What does that look like? So here's something that I ask all my nonprofit clients to do it. Take any exercise, any work, any task, and have every member of your team prompt it. Whether you are using ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or Copilot, whichever, prompt it. All of you will create your own prompts around that exercise, and all of you will come up with your own outputs. And then we'll share and exchange. And then we'll see if Sam's output and prompt on the same exercise of creating that impact report, and Meena's output and prompt, what is the missing gap in comparison to the mission's communication style, in comparison to our overall alignment with the org values, because we are really literally putting ourselves, like Meena is putting her tone in her prompt and output. Sam would be putting your own prompt tone in that prompt. So we need that kind of, let's bring all our outputs and see where are the gaps. And that's an amazing exercise, because a lot of different things come out. Oh, did you assume that as well in your prompt? And how did you write this part in your prompt? And that's an amazing exercise to come up with 5-6 bullet points at the end to say, let's put this in ChatGPT. Let's not put that. Let's make sure that our tone is this way. Let's make sure that the output is this way. It just suddenly becomes like a collective, collaborative thing, what comes out of the exercise.
It also reminds me of that game I used to play as a kid called Telephone, right? So you tell somebody something and tell somebody something, and it becomes something completely different at the end.
Yeah.
It's almost like that, where we're playing that game with ChatGPT and coming out at the other end, and these things can look, or 3 things or 4 things look very, very different. It's a really interesting exercise. It's a great way to get teams thinking about how to use it, right? So that your brand and your key messages are always at the center of what you do.
And you kind of also get to real time see that we, as humans, we have a tendency to layer our biases on the work that we do. So when we are prompting and creating output and maneuvering it to make it our own tone, there are a lot of assumptions that we are holding true, which some of it might be for sure true, some of it might not be. So when you and I and Chantel and John, we all do this together and share our outputs, we not only work through the outputs to get to a common tone, but we also work through our individual assumptions in that case, and kind of building a good practice on how to operate around artificial intelligence.
Boy, you're smart. It's fantastic. So I want to just remind everybody, for those that might be just joining us for the first time, in about 15 minutes from now, we will start taking your questions. I get to ask all these great questions of Meena, but we want to hear from you as well. So don't hesitate to pop them in the Q&A, and we'll find them there, and definitely get to your questions in about 15 minutes or so. But we still have lots to talk about. What are some of the barriers? What do you think some of the reasons are people are nervous to sort of jump in for the very first time? How can we overcome those barriers?
So the first question, and I'll answer it in 2 parts. One is, again, the AI Equity Project report, because that question was literally part of it. What is stopping you? Or, what are your barriers? And some interesting responses came up. Like the first 2 or 3 were funding, like having access to resources to experiment when everything feels like drawing close to get you. You don't have enough resources to experiment and play with. Number 2 was leadership buy-in and support. I have had numerous examples where someone high up on the chain has gone to a big conference, taken some nice notes of 3-4 points, went back to their organization, gave it to their IT team or data team, and then data team is now struggling how to operationalize AI. Literally, they came up with this term, make AI happen in our nonprofit. So leadership buy-in without leadership fully understanding what this entails and means. And then number 3 is this board support. Having board on the same page when it comes to using and thinking and operationalizing AI. That's the number 3 barrier. But I will go back to kind of my favorite one, and sort of it did came up in the data, kind of 4th one, but I will still mention it, is this hesitancy to talk to each other. Some of us are strongly against it. I will never try AI. It only steals. It's only taking ideas without giving sources or credit. And then there's another group that says, We love AI. It can do everything, and we want to do everything with it. Where was this technology 3 years ago? And I work with both kinds of people in the same team.
Mm-hmm.
That is the biggest challenge. When a group of people are not able to talk to each other about something that is happening literally to them, artificial intelligence, that we need people to talk to each other. So the number one barrier, funding, yes, it depends. Like you're right, you are going to apply for a grant. There is no guarantee that you would get a grant. But the number one challenge that you can break and a silo you can break is having conversations between team members. How are you using ChatGPT, Sam? That kind of a question. How am I using any of the AI features, Meena? You can ask me that question and we start talking. The moment we ask, what is your hesitancy to use AI? The question is already baked with bias that I want you to use AI, and I'm already asking you get on that bandwagon. Make neutral questions and conversations. What does this mean to you? How are you feeling about it? Are you using it somewhere? And then start that conversation to make space. We need, actually, to be very honest, we need both kinds of people, optimists as well as the pessimists in this conversation.
Right.
We can't have just one to make this technology sustainable. That would be the first number one barrier. But yes, funding, leadership buy-in, board support, all exist on that chain.
Mm-hmm. And when you think about all the different, I'll just I'll think about the writing components for a second. So, you think about got to write an appeal, then you have to write a thank you letter. You're writing an annual report, a gratitude report. You're writing all sorts of communications with donors, whether that be for social media or for stewardship. Are all of these that I mentioned, are all of them something that we can create with the help of AI?
Yes, you can. I mean, at this point, like right now, what the capabilities of ChatGPT are, I'm going to say it can do everything that I do. And it can design a survey, it can analyze it, and it can give you and spit out some data. How well of a job it does, that's a different question, but it can do all of those jobs. And I want to give, if with your permission, Sam, I want to give an example of
Yes,
a live project that I'm doing right now.
please.
So this is a foundation, and my work is being their resident AI advisor for 9 months and help them make AI something as a real concept in that foundation. And they're doing it because 9 months from now, they want to be able to create funding for nonprofits to do their own AI journey. So they're doing the hard work of learning for themselves first. And the step one of that process 2 months ago was to do a survey of the entire foundation to find out where they are at with the AI thing. And we did like a very in-depth interviews and focus groups and whatnot. And we got some good data, and we came up with actual wording and language of scenarios in that survey, from that survey, that this is where people are struggling with. Even the ones who said, I'm never going to use AI, I absolutely hate it. We pulled some language and examples of that. And now what we are doing is creating experiment lab sessions for the staff members and giving them these use case scenarios that go experiment in your this 1 hour of time to figure out an answer for that. Like one example was, I am afraid to take any PTOs. This is a person who has been in the organization for 15 plus years. I'm afraid to take PTOs because every time I do, I come back with 200 emails sitting in my inbox. Pretty straightforward use case. She wants to use AI in some use case. And now we are exploring, based on the tools that they have access to, like Copilot and a little bit of Gemini, how can they integrate that in their emails to segment it, clean their emails, and get a version of it when they come back. Like it's a pretty simple use case, but it opens up some doors without challenging or pushing anything and saying, can you experiment and see what this feels like? If that works, we'll go to the next use case. We'll create a process where someone wants to create their manuals for the grantees and the next step. And so to your question, I'll say, let's start with survey, pull some use cases and go from there. That's how it becomes practical. Yes, you can do AI for all of those, but it becomes practical when you make it a collective collaborative effort.
Yeah, really interesting. I mean, I think all of the ways that many of us are up, in the middle of the night working on some of this stuff because we can't get to it through the day. I think it will be a relief to people that start using it for the first time.
Yeah.
But once again, it's about understanding the complexities of it, but also that human touch. So I want to talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that human side, because I did something the other day and it did sound a bit robotish. I don't think that's a word, but you know what I mean. It
Yeah.
sounded like I was a robot, and I'm like, I need some heart in here.
Mm.
So are we providing the heart for many of these projects? Do you think AI will ever get to the point where they can get that emotional side?
It is good at replicating stuff. So when you write say your social posts with your heart in it, and you're passionate about, say, the state of the world, and you're sharing your dreams and hopes of how the world should be, feed it into AI, it will pick up the patterns and trends, and it will pick up something that you've said and use it in its next sentence to come up with something that will look like, oh, that is so polished. Oh, that is so neat. But I don't think it will be able to replicate it, but I don't think it will be able to capture our heart. So it can really replicate what we do. It cannot replicate who we are. And so we have to be really mindful, really focused, and revisit who we are as humans, as Meena. Who am I as Meena in this moment of time? What does putting heart into something mean for me? What does love and being loved means to me? I literally struggled earlier this week to come up with things that will make me feel beloved, because was wondering with the state of the world. I was struggling with things that are happening between India and Pakistan, or US or Canada. And so we have to make space, and this might sound philosophical and vague, but it's really not. We have to make space to understand who we are as humans and what our humanity is, if we want to continue to ensure that it shows up in the responses of what artificial intelligence gives. It's not what AI does it replicate our humanity or not? It's the other way around. We have to be humans enough first, and then we can teach AI how to sound like human if you want it to be humanity centered.
Really interesting. We're getting a couple of questions. I'm going to go to one of them now. This is from an anonymous attendee. As both of you expressed earlier, our organization has also been having difficulties figuring how to tackle AI from a policy standpoint. From the time we've created and released a public policy letting people know where we use AI, we are most using it for note-taking purposes. However, some team members have raised concerns that many applications perform now automatically have AI into their systems, example, Google, Zoom, etc. And we are not sure how to tackle this in a policy, or if we should tackle it at all. What a great question. Any suggestions on how we go about the AI policy realm, despite it being daunting? What a great question. Thank you.
What a great question it is indeed. Okay, so I am going to say there are a few applications that do a good job with the note-taking. For sure, yes, they can summarize it, they can capture it. For anyone who doesn't know what it can do, it can literally make summaries of themes of the conversation Sam and I are having right now. So that's one example. The challenge of that could be that for speakers who have an accent, like me, for example, or doesn't match the typical North American accent, or have a different name, like my full name is Meenakshi, that doesn't show up in the documents properly. And so it takes a bit of an effort to make sure you have your subtitles and closed captioning and all those in your videos to align with what you are coming up in your transcripts. That's one issue of note taking. The number two that I am seeing more and more, and I'm going to get to the question as well, is I am seeing in a project that some board members are happily sending their Otter or any other note-taking tool in their absence. So they just say, I can't attend the meeting because I have something going on, but I'm going to send Otter to do the capturing, and then I'll be updated on what happened in the meeting. That is not the purpose of note-taking. So even though we have the tools, we are getting deviated on when, why, how we are using it. So in the policy document that you are talking about, this anonymous friend of ours is talking about, make sure that you have these specifically listed, why you are using, how you are using, what to do with it when you are using. And then for the tools that are automatically capturing, say Zoom, there are some options when you go onto their web version. And this is coming because I mostly use Zoom for these kind of purposes. I don't use any other application. Zoom has some features where you can toggle off any auto summarization, any auto capturing. If you want it, you will have to go and toggle it open. At least at this point, most tools have to offer that kind of a feature mandatorily, because I mean, we just have to. So most tools have that option where you can toggle on or off something before auto capturing. And then consent is the most important piece, and it has to be part of your policy. Who are you getting consent from? How long before? How are you collecting that consent? Suddenly asking in a room full of 50 extroverts, one introvert, are you okay being captured? It's probably going to be, yeah, fine. But we want to be able to do it in a very inclusive way that everyone feels comfortable to give that, offer that consent. So I'm going to suggest these few things to be added into the policy if they're not.
Yeah, very, very smart. And you mentioned a couple things there that really struck me. I think there's, like anything, we have a challenge of making sure that everyone feels heard and seen. So I think that was a really important point you brought up there. We have another, John is sharing, and help me out here, Meena. He's sharing prompt engineering, 500 words in bullet form. Great first draft to avoid missing essential elements. Are you able to help me decipher what John's trying to share with us there?
Let's see, prompt engineering, less than 500 words in bullet form. I'm assuming this is the prompt that John is sharing,
Okay.
and then suggesting that the first draft is great to avoid missing essential elements of it. But John, please correct me if I'm understanding it wrong, and if Sam and I can decipher it in any other way.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure there. So yeah, we're looking forward for John's input there. We have about 15 minutes left. I want to make sure we get to all of our great topics today. So when we think about using AI, let's say in note capturing, is there, and I think about when I worked at the mission, for instance. So sometimes we're working with vulnerable people, you get a little bit nervous about that. So we would want to make sure we're advising those that we're working with that we're using this type of prompt, especially for people that may not be familiar with this. It might startle them a little bit. So
Yeah.
can you talk to me a little bit about what we should be concerned about there?
About the prompting part when we start with the prompting. Yeah. The biggest hurdle when for people who have never tried prompting is not what do I type, but why do I do it? Like I have shown it to people and they say, I have Google for that. What do you want me to do with this screen exactly? Like, can it give me everything? So the first steps is opening those gates of curiosity a little bit. Like to someone you are teaching and showing and talking about prompting and what it can do, show some examples, give some examples, show some use cases of what it can do. Ask this person who has never tried prompting to say, tell me your biggest 5 tasks for the next 3 days. Tell me your biggest 5 tasks. And this person will list, okay, I need to drop these emails. I need to draft one single letter or something. I need to come up with a social post. Pick one example out of that, ask a few questions, and show them literally what it can do. And one thing that I want to encourage everybody is when you're writing your prompts, you can ask it to give you 2 or 3 sets of examples to use from, or 2 or 3 scenarios to use from. So instead of one output where you have to start maneuvering and go back to it, create 2 or 3 examples. That way, the AI will, or ChatGPT like tool will give you 2, 3 outputs, and you can bring something out of the 2 or 3 examples. The other piece is feeling comfortable doing back and forth while staying within the ChatGPT environment. A lot of people I've seen takes the first output and then they leave the ChatGPT environment to go to the Word doc and then do their own thing. So you can stay in the ChatGPT environment and keep teaching AI that this is great draft up to 60% or something, but here are some of the ways you can improve on it or change on it. And those are the number 2 thing for anyone who has never done prompting. I will suggest is do back and forth and open the gates of curiosity by taking a task of your next 3 days and see how that feels like with 2, 3 examples.
Oh, I love that. And when I think about training opportunities, like today, for instance, is obviously an important time for people to learn more from you. You obviously offer other workshops, etc. How much of our professional development should we be allocating towards AI? When it comes to fundraising, of course, we can learn everything from direct mail to grant writing to capital campaigns and everything in between. How much should we be dedicating? Is it 15%, 20%
That's
more?
a great question. I'm going to refrain myself from giving a percentage based, like, on the PD side of things. And it also depends. One trend, other than AI staying here with us for a long time, is that we have a lot more AI trainers in the last 12 months. So the number of people saying that they teach and train on AI, that is going to grow as well. The moment people learn, in fact, like if you see those annoying ads on YouTube, like if you're not using AI this way, you are probably losing something. I can teach you. Those ads, those kind of things are going to grow around us. So you are going to see a wide variety of pricing options in the market. So I'm not going to give you $1X that keep it and save it, but I am going to say to everyone that we do need to allocate some specific budget for AI upskilling. That is sort of non-negotiable. If we are not sure where to begin and where to put those X dollars and what that looks like, make it something, I call it experimentation budget. So make it like $50 or something, nominal, $50 a month, right? And you are giving everyone that option to spend that $50, pick a subscription of a tool, do something with it, learn something with it, but you'll have to give a presentation or short resources back to your staff members on how you use it. So you're bringing some learning back from that experimentation budget. So I'm not going to give the number, but I'm going to say, yes, you need a budget, and to start with the experimentation budget if you're not sure. But I can create some scenarios for you. So if anyone who is curious here, I work with a lot of organizations on teaching and consulting on AI, and the numbers range from $2,000 workshops to it goes all the way up to $10,000 of work and this work happens with a lot of different people with a lot of different sizes and sectors and location of organizations. So start with where you are, experimentation budget, and if you need something more specific, reach out to you and me.
I like it. I like it a lot. We've got more time for questions if anyone has any. We've got a couple here. What are your thoughts about a genetic AI and its application to non-for-profits? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Agenic?
I'm gonna come up to that. Agentic AI and its application to nonprofits. Actually, that's a great question, and I'm staring at the question because the word AI felt so distant for many years, even though it existed in the world. And there was a bunch of people on this planet who invested their lifetimes around this technology, but it still felt distant from the masses. What ChatGPT did was it made it attainable to a certain extent, like I can touch it, I can interact with it. It gave it a face, it gave it a voice, it gave it a UI. Agentic AI, what it means is, and it's coming from my own data science world, what it means is you are setting up 4, 5, 6 automated systems that are talking to each other, where there are agents on your behalf that can do stuff. So I'll say I have to communicate with 1,500 people of a webinar, my agents can help me do that, making sure they are personalized, they are reaching the right people, doing the messaging and all of those. Agentic AI, its impact is going to be huge, but when we can do it successfully and intentionally. At this moment, I don't see a lot of organizations who can actually successfully do agentic AI. Where this word is sitting right now is a lot of people are claiming we can set up agentic AI, but they're really like two systems connected by a connector application, and that is not entirely agentic AI. But when we achieve it, and we will, it will have huge impact because we are the group of people who knows how to hold relationships, and we know how to talk to humans, and we know how to center humanity. So what better group of people than us to understand how to make sense of agentic AI for our sector?
Right. So I think that's a really important piece because we're all still learning. That's something that's new for me today. So I think that would be, that's an important important question for sure. We've answered the consent questions. I think we've gone through all of these questions, really great questions from our audience today. Oh, how do you spell that agent? Oh, so they're wanting it, 1 second. I'm just going to spell it out for them. There we go. Let's spend the last couple of minutes busting some myths. I think there's some myths that people have about AI, and can you bust a couple for us before we say goodbye to everyone today?
Sure. Do you want to make it fun? Like, do you want to give me some? That is it true or not? Or
Okay, well, let's do that. Let's do
Okay.
that. Okay. So AI is directed by government.
False. It's not. It's your data coming from you. Big tech companies, they have access to a lot more data, so they might have access to Sam's and mine and yours and Chris's, and then it's going to combine it. But if it's within our own ecosystems and organizations, it's coming from us. The governments, although have access to some sophisticated level of data, and some of it is hidden on what they are doing and how they are doing it, but we have as much access to it as well.
And you need to pay for Chat GPT membership for it to be worthwhile.
Again, false, but when you pay for a month, you can experiment a little bit more to see if you can see any difference. Unless you try something, we don't get to know if it's working for you or not, and you are pretty much relying on someone else's narrative, which is, again, we establish it's dangerous. And so that said, the free version of ChatGPT, it can do stuff, it can create stuff. The limitations might be on what kind of data it can read or how much of the data it can read, but more or less it does a pretty good job for day-to-day reasons.
And AI is only for university educated people.
Oh, absolutely false. It can work for a one-person team, to 50 people organization, to a university of thousands and thousands of staff members employed. I'll give my own example. I love to experiment with AI. This has been my world for a very long time, and I try a lot of different tools. In my particular use case, I run this consulting business for nonprofits. I have to wear a bunch of different hats. Some hats don't fit my head at all. And I use AI to experiment and see where it falls. And it works pretty well. So it's not just for the big organizations. Both the power and the responsibility that comes with using AI lies with all of us. It doesn't come with the size of the organization or the power that individuals hold.
You shouldn't use AI to fundraise because they have evaluators that can identify it and they will scrap your application.
Also false. It depends on how you are using AI to fundraise. Like, for example, your CRMs, they now have some features where you can, using AI, you can write your appeal letters within your CRM, customizing it. There are features of using AI to segment your donors and come up with these are the best donors for this particular campaign. You can use ChatGPT, on the other hand, to create your own letters and campaign documents and do your own feasibility study plan for using ChatGPT. So it sort of is all over, different tools, but it really comes down to you, how you are using it. So ChatGPT, if you're putting anything confidential, which is not public yet, yes, it is learning from that. And you shouldn't do it. But if you're putting something which is publicly available, your website, and you're asking to come up with a plan, that's okay. So it's not going to scrap that.
Okay, that's great. We're so excited to be able to share that today this presentation will be online, so you'll be able to access it afterwards as well. We have a comment here from Luke. One concern I have is the subscription cost to premium LLMs, thus presenting a barrier to wider adoption and exacerbating digital inequities. This is already happening with the community members our resource center serves. This is a big concern of mine too, Meena.
It is. And can I give an example? I come from the east part of the world. I come from India, and the cost of ChatGPT for public in India is huge. It's expensive. It's 5,000 INR, which is a big number compared to here in the States and in Canada. And so one reason of concern that is pretty valid, that it can cause inequities, and it likely will. And I am trying to find a path beyond that. And I think two things. One, for organization, entities, countries that do not have full control on governance and evaluation of AI, or don't have policies or safeguards and guardrails around AI, sure, having it a little bit of a barrier of the cost ensures that not everybody can do shady stuff with AI. But not all of us are bad entities and bad actors in this ecosystem. So in that case, we need to come up with better collaborations between entities. So if a large university wants to collaborate with a tech company, with a group of community members to come up with AI use cases, let's enable that when we see that kind of collaboration happening, right? So that we can pool our resources to get access to some of those expensive things we need right now to experiment with AI. So yes, I'm validating what Luke is saying. I'm validating it exists. Some of it is useful, that not every actor will get immediate access to these kind of resources, but we can enable some collaborations to get past that.
I have learned so much today. I have learned so much. Let me help bust one last myth that AI is going to take everybody's job.
It's not going to take our job. It is going to definitely, however, transform our job. It can already do everything I can do, like say for my business, what I offer to my clients. It can do those things. And I can't control that. I can't control that. And I can't worry constantly that AI will do all of it. But as a human being, what I do want to be concerned about is if or not what AI produces, it is centering the good things about me now, the good things about human, the passion, the compassion, the empathy, the kindness. Are all those things still centered in the responses that comes out of artificial intelligence or not? That is way more important. If we all can collectively focus on if the responses are enough humanity-centric, not human-centric. Meena is replaceable. What I do can be done by a tool, and I'll figure out something else to do. What is more important is what comes out of these products is still compassionate enough to protect our people and our planet. I think we are heading in a good direction collectively.
Wow, you're brilliant. I really appreciate your time. And as always, I've learned so much from you, Meena. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you so much to Hannah as well. She was the glue that kept us together today. And Chantel stepped in today as well. Chantel, thank you so much for sharing your message as well about CBI. And mostly thank you to everyone who joined us today, because we can't do it without you. So thank you so much to everyone who joined us from all across the country today. I hope you've walked away with some great information about AI. And if you haven't used it yet, maybe we've inspired you to do so. And if you are using it, maybe we've encouraged you to take it one step further. I'm Sam Laprade, and it's been a pleasure to spend time with you today. Thank you so much, everyone.